The moment Brandon told me that my monthly pension checks would now go directly into his personal bank account, a cold chill settled deep in my chest. He sat across my kitchen table, casually swirling his coffee as if he were discussing the weather instead of seizing control of my life. At 64 years old, I realized my own son viewed me not as a mother, but as an asset to manage. I looked closely at his face, searching for any trace of the sweet boy I had raised completely on my own. Instead, I only found a smooth, calculating smile that made him look like a total stranger. I forced myself to nod, quietly telling him that I trusted his judgment completely. His smile widened with a chilling victory, and he leaned over to give me a hasty kiss that felt like a stamp of ownership. To understand how we reached this point, you must know the immense sacrifices that defined my entire existence. 36 years ago, the father of Brandon walked out on us during a terrible winter blizzard when our baby was just 2 years old. He claimed he needed to find himself, leaving me alone with a toddler and a low-paying job that could barely cover our rent. I refused to let my son suffer, so I took a grueling second job cleaning corporate offices late into the night. My days became an endless cycle of working, rushing home to feed Brandon, and then scrubbing floors until 2 in the morning. I survived on 4 hours of sleep for 16 years, even eating nothing but oatmeal for a month just to buy him the expensive sneakers he wanted. When he finished high school, I willingly signed a massive bank loan to fund his expensive private university education, shackling myself to debt for a decade. After graduation, Brandon stayed in my house for 5 additional years, living completely rent-free while saving every penny of his massive finance salary. He eventually purchased a large suburban home using pure cash, while I was still forced to clip grocery coupons. 2 years ago, he married a glamorous woman named Chloe, and our weekly dynamic shifted drastically. They started coming over every single Friday night, but they did not visit to spend quality time with me. They came exclusively to devour the expensive meals I prepared, never offering a single dollar or even a simple expression of gratitude for my hard work. The final straw occurred on my 64th birthday, when Brandon showed up 2 hours late without a single card or gift. I spent that night weeping on the floor, finally recognizing that I had allowed myself to become a convenient free restaurant rather than a respected mother. So when he demanded my pension that gray Thursday afternoon, a dormant spark of survival finally ignited within my soul. The very next evening, Brandon and Chloe arrived for their usual Friday dinner, expecting the familiar aroma of home cooking. Instead, the moment they unlocked the front door, a sharp scream of pure frustration echoed through the hallway. I remained seated in my quiet kitchen, completely unmoved, knowing exactly what had caused their sudden panic. Brandon burst into the room with a pale face, demanding to know where all the furniture and the television had gone. I looked directly into his furious eyes and softly explained that I had sold everything to secure some quick cash. His face turned a deep crimson, and the mask of the loving son completely evaporated, revealing a terrifying wave of unfiltered rage. He screamed that I was completely insane, demanding to know how they were supposed to be comfortable during their weekly visits. His words exposed the painful truth that my home was merely an amenity to him, not a sanctuary for his aging mother. Chloe stepped forward with a reptilian glare, loudly accusing me of being incredibly selfish for only thinking about myself. Brandon then delivered a crushing blow, stating that my erratic actions proved I was no longer capable of making sound financial decisions. He was actively trying to frame me as a senile burden so he could seize absolute control. I stood up with a newfound strength, coldly informing them that dinner was cancelled and they needed to find another place to eat. Before storming out and slamming the heavy door, Brandon turned to me with a chilling warning. He stated that an old woman living completely alone without a caring family could easily end up in a very dangerous situation. He reminded me that he was all I had left in this world, intending to leave me trembling in total isolation. Instead of crying, I felt an absolute clarity wash over me, realizing that my son viewed me purely as a financial resource. The next morning, I went straight to the bank and requested my financial statements from the past 6 months. As I examined the pages line by line, my blood froze when I discovered a large unauthorized cash withdrawal of $1,500. I remembered a moment 3 months ago when Brandon visited and left me alone in the shower while my purse sat on the coffee table. He had secretly stolen my debit card, taken the money, and slipped it back without a word. I rushed home to dig through my old records, discovering a secret credit card in my name with a balance of $4,000. The records proved he had completely renovated his luxury suburban house using my credit while I struggled to survive. Even worse, he had used my identity years ago to open a utility account, ruining my credit score with his late payments. My own child had been systematically robbing me for years, all while acting as though I was the one who needed financial guidance. The following week, Brandon returned with a confident smile, spreading legal documents across my table and demanding my immediate signature. I examined the paperwork carefully, realizing it was not a simple account transfer, but a full power of attorney. If I signed those lines, I would hand him total legal authority to empty my remaining life savings without any consequences. I looked up calmly, telling him that I needed a few additional days to read through the complicated text. A flash of intense irritation crossed his face, but he agreed, confident that my loneliness would eventually force me to submit. The very next morning, I took all my compiled evidence and walked straight into the office of a prominent local lawyer named Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison reviewed the extensive trail of fraud, confirming that I was facing a severe case of systematic elder abuse. He assured me that we had enough evidence to protect my assets and hold Brandon legally accountable for his actions. I left the office feeling incredibly light, ready to dismantle the world of my son just as he had secretly dismantled mine. I learned that motherhood is not a guarantee of returned love, and sacrifice should never come at the cost of your own dignity. I am no longer the submissive woman who accepts mistreatment out of fear of isolation. By standing up for myself, I reclaimed my freedom, proving that it is never too late to fight for the respect you truly deserve.